Live from Brooklyn, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask Engineer. It's me, Lady Ada, with me, Mr. Lady Ada. And that's right, we are back and better than ever. We're now broadcasting live from close to downtown Manhattan. Sorry, downtown Brooklyn instead of downtown Manhattan.
We've been doing the same line for 15 years, so it's going to take a while to get it. We're still in New York City,
Yeah,
but we are in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn now.
Adafruit is at Industry City. We'll be talking about that and more exciting news,
Yep.
exciting show.
All right, let's get right to it. We'll catch up because we've been off air. Thanks, JP, for holding down Wednesday nights for us. But we're back, so now you are stuck with us again.
Yeah.
What's on tonight's show, Mr. Lady Ada?
On tonight's show, the code is We Moved. 10% off the native store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. We will be talking about Adafruit at Industry City, some videos, some information, and more. We'll talk about our live shows, including Show and Tell. We just did that. A little bit of a recap of what's ahead with Deska Lady Ada as we've moved. We have JP's product pick of the week. We're going to play a video from that. And of course, don't forget on Thursdays is JP's workshop. We have some catch up with some 3D printing speed ups and videos. We're going to play those. We have Ion MPI brought to you by DigiKey. Analog devices this week. We got some top secret. We got some new products. We're going to answer your questions. We do that on Discord, adafruit.it/discord. Post up your questions. We'll answer them throughout the show. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Yay!
Live from Brooklyn. Okay. So let's pay some bills. We moved. Just give us some code. We still have free stuff.
And we're shipping same day again.
Same day, same hour, often now. Yeah. What did they get?
Okay. When you order from the Adafruit shop, and thank you for those who've ordered for the last couple of weeks, and of course those who are back to ordering from us now that we're shipping again nearly instantaneously. When you order from Adafruit.com, $99 or more, you get a free PCB coaster with a beautiful Adafruit gold logo on top and some protective bumpers to keep your desk nice and clean. $149 or more, you get a free KB2040 RP2040 based microcontroller board. It's Pro Micro pinout compatible, so it's great for making keyboard projects, but also is a great all-round beginner microcontroller board. $199 or more, we have free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States, and we still have our favorite circuit board ever, the Circuit Playground Express.
Ever?
That's yeah, it's kind of my favorite ever. I sort of I really like it.
Ever.
For orders over $299, and of course you'll get all the free stuff from the lower levels as well. It's like free shipping, free coaster, and more. Yeah, but we'll be changing this up probably in the next couple of weeks. So cool. Exciting.
All right, and please buy stuff because, as we said, we moved. Industry City is where we moved to. Here's some beautiful photos of outside of Adafruit now. Here's some nice fall trees and leaves. It's an amazing, beautiful place. I think we could first just talk about, like, where can you find information about what this Industry City place is?
Yes.
Because I think that explains kind of what it is by who's there.
Industry.
Yeah. So
city.
Yeah. So check out Industry City. You can check out the website. You could see their history. It's this beautiful building, tons of square footage and more. And
hundreds of businesses.
It was like it was made for us. There's a makers guild there. But what I thought we would do is actually show some footage that they shot. So it's a 2-minute little blurb of Industry City and what it's all about, and you can learn about it. And then I want to show you things that were interesting to us. They have a video of, like, here's some of the spaces available for people who make things. So take it away, Industry City.
Industry City, well known as IC, is a 6 million square foot creative campus on Brooklyn's. The outdoor space includes 5 acres of heated, furnished courtyards, making IC home to New York City's largest year-round outdoor dining experience. The food hall has 13 restaurants with a variety of cuisines. There's a bookstore, a general store, and several small shops. The food hall is the gateway to the rest of campus, with more than 500 businesses spanning art, media, tech, fashion, and of course, content creation. The IC Makers Guild is a cooperative of boutique makers and artisans who occupy a single floor and allow the public into their spaces to watch the manufacturing process and also purchase product. We'd like to leave you with a few snippets from our world.
Now you know us. Does it seem like a place for us?
Yeah, we're like makers, and like I like to eat outside.
And not only that,
I like ramen.
it's a place for all of you because now we can finally do things like have events and do tours and just all the things and the amenities of something as we take Adafruit to the next level. So we've moved our factory there. We're still putting everything together. That's not quite done yet. Some of you in the
Machines
community
still being moved.
have visited Adafruit before. You'll visit again. It'll just be a lot easier for us. So we don't have to take any loans and still no venture capital. We did this by saving up, working hard. COVID and the chip shortage has been really hard. So please help get the word out that we are still a US based New York company now in Brooklyn. And if you like open source hardware, electronics, a woman owned company, innovation, doing something that we think will make a dent in all the things that need to be dented. Please, please, please. It's what keeps us going. We don't want to do anything else. So the things that were interesting to us, and we could go into it in future shows and when we do a tour and all that. But they assisted us with the build out and more.
Yeah.
And so they have this little 30-second video. And I thought this would be helpful just so you can get an idea of this is, similar to some of the spaces that people have and that we also.
It's like if you're in the Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island, Staten Island, whatever Manhattan area, and you want a good place to move your company, there's actually we looked at a lot of places.
We looked everywhere.
Was where we ended up deciding and making good decisions.
And our rent is lower than it was in Manhattan, so it's a very competitive landscape up there. All right, so let me show you this the pre-built video as it's titled. Okay, so more news on that later.
Yeah.
We did some live shows. We had show and tell. On show and tell this week, Lady Ada, we had our regular crew.
Trevor, Brent, JP, Aaron.
Yeah. And then lots of great show and tell projects. Someone who we met already in Brooklyn, Jim came by with us in this project. Mark came by with a update on his project. And the highlight, I think, because DEF CON's going on, is check out the DEF CON badge. A amazing learning Circuit Python based project. Really, really neat. You'll see this in our newsletter later, and of course, watch the show.
I love it. Like Joe Grand, did the badges for like a decade, and I think he doesn't do them anymore. I think he's like, hey, I have to like move my family, and like move on because it's like a full time. You could always have to do more, but now everyone else is picking up, and like people do their own community badges, and so now people can. Instead of just having one badge that everyone gets, there's lots of badges that everyone can like trade and create and craft and show off and share. So I think open source hardware is definitely a part of that. Like a lot of these badges are based off of designs that we've published or Sparkfun or Seed. It's happening. It takes a couple of years.
Alrighty, so we're back on show and tell. You'll see us next week. Now that we have So we also moved our personal residence. So we have a different apartment. We have an office. So we have more room. So it'll be
And the
easier.
baby's here next to us.
That's right. We have, yeah, before the whole space that we worked and lived in was about this big, and then we have a little baby now. So now we have an office in our new apartment. And the cool thing is I'll be able to do a lot more video, a lot more content. I can leave this setup here so it's not, hours and hours every single week. That means making more content, it means Lady Ada can do more new products. So I'm really excited about our move. We're really close to Prospect Park. It's amazing and beautiful. I already blew through all the step counters that I was trying to figure out. Like, okay, how many steps per day do I need, and what do I do? No, it just, the park is so nice. Just walk.
It's enjoyable, and also, of course, it's a downside, but it's a little upside. Things are a little bit farther. Like, it's not next door to go to the cafe. We have to walk a couple blocks.
It's fine. I need.
But you know what? It's good. We actually get out of the house a little bit.
Okay. So Jessica Lady Ada was on break, and so was The Great Search. That will be back very soon.
Yep.
This weekend, we're back, so expect us. JP's product of the week. Big special thanks to JP for not only doing his shows, but doing Wednesday night shows. Here is this week's product pick of the week highlight.
That's the product pick this week. It is the RS232 PAL. It's a UART to RS232 breakout. I have a little box over here that is an HDMI switcher. It has RS232 serial command interface on it. So you can hook it up to, in this case, the RS232 PAL over UART to a microcontroller. In this case, there's a Feather ESP32S3 over there with Wi-Fi on it. If I come over to my Adafruit IO dashboard and hit HDMI 1, it's going to send the command to the switcher to let whatever is plugged into HDMI 1. I can go over at HDMI 2. There's a Nintendo. Over here is a Super Nintendo. And then if I go to HDMI 4, I have a little video synthesizer called an IZ. Right there, that's my product pick of the week this week. It is the RS232 PAL. It is a UART to RS232 breakout board.
JP's workshop is tomorrow. Scott is doing deep dive on Friday, where he will be talking about something very special
that we can't talk about.
And we can't talk about till tomorrow.
But you'll know tomorrow. And
you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
And then you're going to be like, ooh, I want to see that show.
Just to be clear,
on your calendar.
Just to be clear, tomorrow there's going to be something very exciting.
But what is it?
We can't talk about it now if you're watching this live, but later on you can watch it and you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It's cool.
It's back to school time. On our website, we have a lot of back to school guides for the young engineer. You can check out all the products that youngins might like, back to school tools and gear, and of course, back to school kits. It's Python on hardware time, Lydia.
Okay.
And I'm glad you asked. Guess what's coming up next week on Friday? August 15th is Circuit Python Day. Yay!
It's so blinky.
Circuit Python Day. Yay!
And sneaky.
Circuit Python Day. So, this week,
Is it like the crowd?
Yeah, it's like the crowd. So this week, we're going to talk about Circuit Python Day. So Friday, next week, the 16th, the snakiest day of the week. It's a company holiday for Adafruit, and our team who works on Circuit Python and more will be doing live videos all day long. So check out the website, check out the schedule. You can go to adafruit.com/Circuit Python 2024 and look at the schedule. We'll have guests, interviews, projects, you name it, it'll be there. Celebrate with the great community in the show and tell. One of the participants was talking about how great the community is. Not just code, it's community. So if you want, go to the newsletter and you can learn all about it and more. And of course, the giant newsletter. This is
the 300th newsletter.
It'll be the 300th one. Great timing, right?
That's like we planned it.
Like we planned it. So 300 newsletters. That's 300 weeks of ad-free. Don't have to sign up. Don't have to do anything to violate your personal space. Won't hurt your feelings. But do check out the rest of the newsletter. And does a fantastic job. You can get this delivered to you every single week to your mailbox.
Boom.
Just go to adafruitdaily.com And it's not the Adafruit store, it's a completely separate site because we value your privacy just as much as you do. Okay, open source hardware. Let's talk about the guides.
I
And more.
put some guides in.
Do you want to catch up, lady? Is that what we're going to
Yeah.
do from the learning system?
But I don't know what was last.
You don't know. You don't know.
Well, let's start from the top, and then I don't know. Maybe I'll just.
Yeah.
Okay. Aaron's Sound Directive Top Hat just went live. It's really cool because this is we've had a couple Top Hat projects. This is the first one where it's like an LED strip that wraps around and you connect it to an ESP32 and then use WLED and it will do the mapping for you. So there's no software at all. And it has audio reactive modes and like bouncing ball and like she plugs a microphone in and it's actually turned out really great. JP did a project with the ESP32 S3 and CircuitPython to have it act as a Bluetooth controller, not a peripheral. S3, the ESP32 S3 does have and non-S ESP32 Classic has Bluetooth support for BLE, but we didn't have support for it in CircuitPython until recently, but we have added BLE support thanks to Scott's industrious hacking. And so now not only can you use the ESP32 and ESP32 C3, C6, and S3 with Wi-Fi, but you could also use it with BLE. To check it out, JP just did a project to show how you can use the ESP32 S3 as a Bluetooth to Wi-Fi gateway. So it takes temperature data from this Bluetooth grilling thing. You even set up his grill, and it sends that data to Adafruit IO, so you can have data logging and monitoring online of temperature. So it's kind of cool. We have a project from Trevor and Brent for It's a Snap, which is our iOS app that lets you connect data to Adafruit IO. What this demo does is it's actually kind of neat. Your phone has data like your GPS location, but how can you get that into Adafruit IO? Well, using It's a Snap, you can create a Apple shortcut that when you move or you enter a location, it will send that data to Adafruit IO. So basically, like taking the sensor stuff and like iOS knowledgeable of what you're doing, all the smarts that's in your phone, and you can control your electronics with it. So it's kind of taking that data that's in the Apple ecosystem and like bringing it into MQTT or WebSockets, whatever, like a public readable API that you don't need to have an Apple developer account. So using It's a Snap as a little gateway, you take your location using Apple shortcuts, send it to Adafruit IO, and then Adafruit IO can display where your phone is. So it's like for somebody else's phone, obviously, you know where you are, but if you're keeping track of where somebody else is, I think this was a thing in like Harry Potter where it like knew like whether you were home or at work or like at the playground. So you can kind of DIY that now. So that's kind of neat. We have a countdown project. Liz is on break, but before she left, she did a DVI count and a TFT countdown project for CircuitPython Day, which is coming up in about 9 days. And did a project for doing colorful UV printed PCBs using JLC PCBs service. She showed how to use the Easy EDA service to do that. Noah and Pedro did an amazing CNC rotary macro pad. I'm kind of bummed that it was like the first week we were off.
We're going to show the video.
We'll show the video. So totally configurable, programmable, 16 button plus like a really nice CNC, like clicky rotary encoder with a knob. So you can use it for like CNC control or anything that you want, like multiple buttons and then like a spinny knob that you can like do precision or like fast rotation. It has a little like USB cord, so you can plug it into anything that takes USB keyboard. And then the floor lamp. I don't think we talked about the floor lamp, right?
We do have a video to show.
That means we didn't talk about it yet. So before Erin did a project where she made this cool like standing floor lamp that has like little animations and stuff. And then scroll down, and we have this is for a new product which we just put in, the USB Type-C power delivery switchable breakout, a guide on how doing that, another guide on the ESP32 S3 BLE. This one can get your iOS media data, like what your phone is playing, that can beam onto a display. And then we've got the 4-port USB hub breakout. We just put that in the shop. It's coming soon. And the USB-C dock. It's a project from Noah and Pedro to make it's like we had a USB micro B dock and now it's USB-C. So you can plug it either way and it just makes a little stand-up project if you don't want to have something lying on your desk. You want to stand up.
Okay, we're going to play a video from Aaron, then we're going to roll right into some 3D printing videos. We have some projects, and then we're going to do some of the speed ups from the last couple of weeks. We will see you on the other side for I on NPI.
For today's project, make a beautiful floor lamp out of Hot Wheels tracks and NeoPixels. Clear crystal gems diffuse the light in a beautiful way. Affix your lamp in a spiral and then add capacitive touch sensors to turn your light on and off and change modes. You can also control the lamp with any smartphone with Wi-Fi. Or use the capacitive touch to turn the lamp on and off and change modes with your foot. See the full build tutorial at learn.adafruit.com and remember to subscribe for more fun videos.
You can build a simple USB-C dock for displaying your dev boards. Our 3D printed dock is designed to stand up dev boards that feature USB Type-C connectors. We think it's a nice way to prop up our Adafruit dev boards to display them on our desk. Just plug in your favorite USB-C cable to the back of the dock and start programming. This project uses Adafruit's USB Type-C breakouts that feature plug and socket connectors. You can 3D print the dock in your favorite PLA filament. We used right-angle header pins on the USB-C socket breakout and soldered them to the bottom of the PCB. Regular header pins were soldered to the top of the USB-C plug breakout. Jumper wires made it easy to connect the two breakout boards together. To build your own dock, check out our full step-by-step tutorial on learn.adafruit.com. To keep the jumper wires away from the USB connector, they can be fitted through the mounting tabs. The USB-C breakout with the socket connector is secured to the bottom cover using machine screws. The USB-C breakout with the plug connector is then secured to the vertical mounting tabs with another set of machine screws. Now we can easily plug in the jumper wires to the corresponding header pins. The top enclosure can then be fitted over the USB-C plug connector and snap fits onto the bottom cover. We hope this inspires you to build your own USB-C dock with Adafruit's USB-C breakouts. You can build a BLE media controller for your iOS device with a touchscreen and a Feather ESP32S3 running CircuitPython. This project displays audio track and album information from an iOS device directly on a 3.5-inch TFT display. You can control your media playback with buttons on the touchscreen like play, pause, and even change the tracks with a simple tap. You can also adjust the volume. Powered by the Feather ESP32S3, this dev board now features support for BLE using the latest version of CircuitPython. This features the ESP32S3 with 8MB of flash, Wi-Fi, BLE, StemmaQT, and LiPo battery charging and monitoring. CircuitPython 9.1 introduces Bluetooth connectivity for expressive chips. This project uses BLE libraries for CircuitPython to connect and pair with iOS devices. We think this is a great demo to showcase how you can use BLE in your DIY projects. To learn how to build this project, check out the guide at learn.adafruit.com. We designed and 3D printed a stand for the 3.5-inch TFT display. You can use M25 nylon hardware to secure the display to the 3D printed stand. The Feather ESP32S3 plugs into the socket headers on the back of the TFT Featherwing, making this a really easy assembly. We hope this inspires you to try BLE on the Feather ESP32S3 with CircuitPython. You can build a custom macro pad with a CNC rotary encoder, Adafruit's NeoKey switches, and the Feather RP2040. We designed this project to be a custom macro pad for controlling our slicing software for 3D printing. Each key is assigned a shortcut in the Ultimaker Cura software. You can switch between tools like Move, Scale, Rotate, and Support Blocker. The CNC rotary encoder can switch between different modes, allowing you to rotate around a 3D model and even zoom in and out. Powered by the Feather RP2040, this dev board has all the GPIO for wiring up the NeoKey switches and the rotary encoder with plenty of features to spare. It features the RP2040 chip with 8MB of SPI flash, 21 GPIO pins, Stemma QT, and onboard light poly battery charging. The CircuitPython code allows for easy customization. You can change the keyboard shortcuts to control any number of software such as CAD, graphics, and video editing software. In the code, the lower key switches toggle between different modes for the rotary encoder. This makes it much more versatile, allowing you to quickly switch between keyboard arrow keys and the mouse scroll wheel. Adafruit's NeoKey switches feature built-in NeoPixels and MX-compatible key sockets for swapping out different key switches. A full sheet features 30 key switches that can be snapped apart to make any size grid. This allowed us to create a custom 3x4 layout for making an ortholinear keypad. These Kale Black linear key switches have a smooth actuation with a nice silent key press. They just pop right into the sockets and you can remove them using a spudger prying tool. These clear keycaps feature the DSA profile and we think they're great for allowing the NeoPixel LEDs to shine through. All of the keys glow white by default and each key will glow a different color when pressed to show the different hotkeys. My favorite part of this project is the CNC rotary encoder because I can quickly change it from pressing arrow keys to scrolling the mouse wheel. We hope this inspires you to check out Adafruit's Snap Apart NeoKey switches and CircuitPython for creating your own custom macro pad.
Alrighty, don't forget the code is we moved. that help support Adafruit because we just moved to a new building and more, and we are only supported by you and the things that you buy. So thanks, and we hope to save you a buck or two on checkout, and you also get all that free stuff. Let's do some eye on NPI. Eye on NPI brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit this week. It is analog devices. Lady Ada, what is this week's new product introduction?
I'm glad you asked. This week's MPI is the, can you go back again? It was the Max 77859. This is a really cool buck boost converter. We just moved to Brooklyn. So in honor of Biggie Smalls, this is a big buck boost converter with a small footprint, lots of current, and a large, big output current, big input voltage range. 2.5 to 2.2 volts input, 7.8 amp switching current. It's a buck boost, so it's got a whole H bridge in there. So you only need one inductor, which is really cool. So it's a nice and compact buck boost converter. It's designed for USB Type-C power delivery. It's kind of designed for the output mode where you can select whether you want 5, 9, 12, 15, 18, or 20 volts output. But I also think, the reason I looked at this part is I think it would make for a great converter from a USB PD input. So for example, let's say you want to drive some 5-volt LEDs. You have a lot of LEDs or LED panels. You want 5, 6 amps of 5-volt output. Well, USB PD converter, they tend not to let you have more than 3 amps at 5 volts, but you can get 3 amps at 12 volts or 3 amps at 20 volts, and then buck that down to 3 amps at 12 volts, you'll get 6 or more amps at 5 volts. Again, using this handy dandy converter. And of course, you can also boost up. So let's say you want 12 volts output. It doesn't matter what the USB PD power supply provides. If it provides 5, you can still get 12 volt out. It gives you 12, cool, get 12, 12. If it gives you 20, you buck down, you get more current. So it's kind of like an all-in-one power supply for anytime you're dealing with USB Type-C power delivery power supplies, which I think they're the bomb. I think they're way better than DC power supplies. So a couple things about this board that's nice. So like I said, very wide input voltage, wide output voltage, can give you about 4 to 6 amps depending on the configuration. It has I2C support, which I'll talk about, standalone support, and because it's buck boost, you don't have to worry about whether you're going high or low, but you only need one inductor, so it's nice and compact. The A version, you see on the right, there's the R-Sense. The A version has current sensing and maximum current limiting as well, which I think is pretty neat. That's the version that's available on DigiKey. But otherwise, you see the schematic is quite simple. You don't need a lot of components, especially if you're using the default 5-volt output until you do I2C configuration. Because with I2C configuration, you'd configure it post-boot. So, when it starts up, what's the voltage output? By default, it's 5 volts unless you connect something to the feedback resistors. So in this case, if the feedback is tied to out, great, means you have, 5 volts output by default. And then you can use the SDA and SCL pins to change the voltage, change the currents. It's nicely efficient. It's going to be much better, of course, at high currents. But there are 2 modes. You can have it in, PWM mode, or I don't know the other mode, but basically there's a mode that's good at below 100 milliamps and the mode that's better at above. You can dynamically choose those or strap it with resistors, but it has good efficiency with 3.3 to 20 volts output. You can get at least 80%, up to 95%, especially at 1 amp and above. Another thing that's really nice is it has built-in current limiting. So that's good if you want to make sure, there's short circuit protection, but still sometimes it's not quite, with 7.8 amps of, built-in switch capacity, you want to make sure that if you're driving something, it shouldn't be drawing more than 1 amp or 2 amps. You can internally limit it either by using a resistor to set the IREF current, or like I said, by configuring it over I2C. So that's kind of nice. Can also mean you don't end up overloading your power delivery source, because if it's limited to how much current it can provide you. Usually you talk PD to the supply, it'll tell you, oh, I can only provide 1 amp at 9 volt max. That means like, okay, my 5 volt output shouldn't go above 1.5 amps, or I could end up dragging the input voltage down below the lockout. So standalone mode, you don't need to use this with I2C. If you have a fixed output voltage and a fixed current limit, you just want to have any voltage input, and you just want like a 9 volt out, 5 volt out, whatever, at up to 4 amps. Really easy to set up. You'll need a couple capacitors and like 2 resistors just to set the current limiting. And then like that big inductor, you do the math in the data sheet, but you're really pretty much ready to go. So that's the fixed standalone setup. Check the data sheet for the feedback resistors, but it's kind of standard. There's a voltage it's looking for, and you do a divider. And then there's internal and external feedback resistors. The internal one, I think that's when you're using I2C, but external, you can again fix it if you want just 9 volt output or whatever. And it does have here like 3.3 to 20 in the standard USB type C voltages, but of course, if you want 10.5 volts, you can do 10.5 as well. The I2C interface is where I think it's kind of fun, because after you set up like the default output voltage, then you can use I2C to configure it. Or if you don't want to have a default output, just pull the enable pin low by default, and then when you're ready to talk to the chip and configure it, then turn on the enable pin, so you don't end up having a different voltage. Only thing to watch out for is the IO supply. That's the I2C voltage reference. It's like 1.8 volts. It's not 3.3. So you'll need a level shifter for that. Not a ton of registers, but like, kind of enough. It won't tell you the output voltage or the output current, if you want to do measurements for that. Use a separate, I2C voltage and current, measuring ADC type thing. But you can set the output voltage, I think, at 20 millivolts per step. And you can set the output current limit at 50 milliamps per step. So, small enough that basically is the programmable output power supply, which is another thing it can be useful for. You're talking to some sort of sensor or motor or interface where you want to be able to dynamically scale the voltage, but still provide up to 4 amps. You'll be able to do that with this chip. Just don't forget when on startup, it's going to default to whatever that strap resistor you set it up for in standalone mode. A couple of variants are available, although 3 of them are not available yet. The one that's in stock right now is the MAX 77859A, which it does have current limiting, but it's a WLP package. So WLP package is like a VGA, and it's small. It's like 3.3 by 2.8 millimeters. 0.4 millimeter pitch. So you will definitely need to have, X-ray inspection for this, because there's a lot of pads that need to be connected together. And there's a few pads on the right-hand side that you'll need plugged vias for. A little bit of a bummer, but thankfully there's also a QFN version, which I'm definitely eyeing. Love the look of this one, because it's a little bit bigger. It's 4 by 4 millimeters, but it's 0.5 millimeter pitch with nice big pads for the power and inductor, the power path on the left-hand side, and all the control pins on the right hand. Like you see, there's not a lot of pins. It's only, I like it when there's less than 30 IO on a power chip. For the layout, like I said, probably need a 4 or 6 layer design, because you need to get those traces out from underneath, especially on the opposite side of the power path. Thankfully, the power path, at least, the inner pins connect to the outer pins, so it kind of creates like a big fill layer. You will need to spec the inductor, do the best you can based on what you think the input voltage and output voltage is going to be in the amount of current. You can also change the frequency, by the way, over I2C dynamically, which I thought was kind of cool. There's an eval board available if you want to get started immediately. Those are also in stock. And what's nice is the pricing. It's like a $1.25 in quantity, and it's in stock at DigiKey. I love the post chip shortage, where it's like they have 3,000 in stock right now. So if you want to try out this really nice power supply, whether or not you're doing USB PD, maybe you just want a programmable power supply. And this is a great buck boost chip, especially the fact that you only need one inductor and it's I2C programmable. Great chip.
It's good to be back and give everyone their weekly fix of NPI, new product introduction. I'm NPI, brought to you by Adafruit DigiKey.
On NPI.
All right, don't forget to go as we moved. We're going to roll right into new products, Ada.
Yep. New.
First up.
Okay. This is in stock now. It was coming soon. We put it in stock while we were on moving hiatus. The ESP32C6 Feather is now in stock. I know some people signed up. Pick one up. Our Feather format now with a chip that does Wi-Fi, BLE, and 802.15.4, otherwise known as Zigbee compatibility. It doesn't have native USB. It has like the USB serial converter built in, but it does run CircuitPython. Good Arduino support, although Matter interfacing for it is still in progress. You have to use the ESP SDK to do that. STEMMA QT port, boot and reset switch, NeoPixel, separate low dropout regulator for the NeoPixel and QT port. I think the quiescent current is like 16 microamps. Check the product page, but it's like 20 microamps or less. It's very good for low power usage. So I think this will be great for home automation, Matter sensors, because of course it can do Wi-Fi BLE or 802.15.4. It's kind of like this wide range of connectivity available. At a very good price. The C6 is a great deal compared to the S3 series. It's also got a RISC-V core processor. 4 megabytes of flash, but no PS RAM. The C6 mini modules don't come with PS RAM. Like I said, Arduino and CircuitPython support are looking good for this new part, so it's back in stock.
Next up.
Next up, we have a couple of USB hubs. This was actually an old design. I started with a different chip. Part shortage made it impossible to make. I did a different chip, and then someone emailed and said, hey, that chip actually sucks. And I was like, okay, so third time is a charm. This is the CH334F, right? 334F from WCH. Nice little chip. So this is a 4-port hub. If you want to embed a hub into a circuit where you don't want USB ports, like making it big and chunky, we just give you the data, power, and ground lines for 4 separate peripherals. It just looks like a hub. I think it's MTT compatible. I know some folks care about that. Nice big capacitors, LEDs to let you know which ports are enumerated. USB-C for the uplink, and then if you don't want to use USB-C, we also have 4 pins at the bottom for the host port. So, basically you can turn any product into a hub, especially if it's internal where you don't necessarily have USB cables on everything. It's just a plug and play.
Ready.
We also have even more compacted 2-port version. So you want to make your keyboard into also have an internal USB device or something, or you just have a compact single board computer setup. You want to have one USB port, like on your Raspberry Pi Zero W single board computer, and you want to have 2 devices instead of 1. This port will take 1 port. This hub will take 1 port and make it 2. It's the same chip, because honestly, it was just easier to use and cheaper to use this chip than to find a specialty 2-port hub. So it's basically half the size of the 4-port version, but it still has the mounting holes, LEDs to let you know which port is enumerated, and USB-C uplink.
Alrighty, next up.
Okay, so making more USB breakouts. This is a USB-A port, so this is like the thing that plugs into your computer, but it's special. As you see here, normally you have like that white bar, which means that you can only plug it in one way, but this has a little thin red strip, and it's a circuit board, so you can actually plug it in either way. So no matter which way you plug it in, it's correct.
You're gonna save years of your life.
Months, hours. So yeah, it plugs in either way, it's flippable. This is actually really good because if you have a design where, depending on the hub, you want it to face outward always, but sometimes the ports are like reversed on the hub or the connector or the power plug, like you don't always have it pointing the right direction. You can just flip it over. So it's a nice little breakout, has mounting holes. We give you, the standard USB 2.0 pins, power, ground, data plus, data minus, and shield if you want to connect to the shield. So it's the same price as a normal USB 8 port, but it's flippable.
So,
By request, we have our, a little USB PD dummy board. You plug it into a USB PD power supply and you give different voltages. This one, you don't have to use I2C or do any soldering. So you see this little demo. No, sorry, the previous one, where Jelly's switching each switch. So you can go from 20 to 9 to 15 to 5 volts without having to do any soldering. You just flip the switch. Maybe you can go to this image because I can show it. So on the right, you see that little dip switch, and there's a dip switch 4, 5, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20. Select which voltage you want the output to be, flip that switch, and that's what you're going to get on the terminal block. There's also a power good LED. There's a standard QT port, so if you do want to do dynamic on the fly changes, it'll always do whatever the switches say first, and then you can kick over I2C and configure it. Terminal block comes pre-soldered on, and then if you go to this, somebody asked for an off switch. So there's two pads, and then when they're shorted, it will disconnect the output. So it's not an inline switch, it's like a signal switch. And it will disable the pass transistor, so you can easily make an on-off switch. Just be aware that it's closed to turn off and open to keep on.
okay, next up.
We have the full breakout version of our RS-232 level shifter. So you're doing retro technology projects, you want to connect to a device and control RS-232 signals, but of course those are plus minus 6 or plus minus 12 volts. This is a DE9F socket to your logic level of all 9 pins, or 8 pins because one ground. So DCD, receive, transmit, DTR, DSR, RTS, CTS, ring. So those are the standard 8 pins, and then there's one ground pin on the 9-pin connector. There's also a pin valid, which will go high when it detects that it's connected to something that's like a valid, it's creating a valid voltage, because it's, again, the voltages have to be plus or minus 6 volts. And so the valid pin will go high when it's the peripheral you're connecting to is valid. And the off pin will tri-state all of the outputs when pulled high. So that's handy. What's nice about this modern one compared to the Max 232 I'm used to is you can control it with, you can power it with 3 to 5 volts. So it has a little boost and inverter circuit built in with all the capacitors. You just give it 3 to 5 volts and you will get proper RS-232 transceiver, up to 250 kilobit per second, and I think it has plus minus 15 kilovolt protection on all the lines. So excellent for connecting to any RS-232 serial device.
Next up.
Speaking of USB PD, this is a USB PD cable that you can connect USB-C to a travel charger like this. This cable will give you 5 volts, 5 amps out, which is a little bit weird because you're like, well, isn't the default output from USB PD 5 volts? Yes. But if you want 5 amps and your power supply can provide 5 amps, you have to negotiate for it. You can't just draw 5 amps. So this has an eMark chip in it, which is why it's not just like it's low cost $2. It's not $2 USB-C cable, because it will actually do the proper USB PD negotiation to give you 5 amps out. An example of a 5 volt output power supply is like the one for the Raspberry Pi 5. I think that one's a 5 volt, 5 amp. So you're going to see more of those 5 volt, 5 amp power supplies, USB-C power supplies on the market. If you want to get that 5 volts out, this cable will do it at 5 amps.
Next up.
We have a couple of cases that Noah and Pedro have designed. They're on holiday this week. But this is for the Pixel Trinky. So if you are using the Pixel Trinky to control NeoPixels or dot stars from a USB port, but you want to protect your little guy, This case has the reset button and the 3-pin accessory port, and the turbo block's exposed, but it's nice and protected. It's a snap fit enclosure, so you don't need any screws or any glue. It just snaps right on. We're kind of experimenting with, like, what if we have resin printed enclosures for some of our projects, instead of people having to 3D print their own, because maybe you don't have a 3D printer. So for a couple bucks, basically we 3D print it for you and put it in the shop. This is in a translucent white plastic, so the NeoPixel will shine through, but otherwise it's nice and protective.
Next time.
We also have a case for the cutie pie. So this is like, well, actually, can you go back so you can see this one? So you can see here at the bottom, the cutie pie snaps into the bottom of the case. There's lots of like mounting slots and holes. There's also a like sombrero hang, so you could hang this up from a nail. There's also ears on the side, so you can turn into a strap. Basically, if you have a STEM QT project, a cutie pie project where you have like sensors or maybe a display, and you want to make it a little bit more compact and finished and mountable, this is a 3-piece enclosure. On the right, the cutie pie board plugs in. Then there's like a little side piece to give it a little bit of a, 3-dimensional shape. And then on the top, there is the gridded top, and there's slots in it because it's meant to make it easy for you to bolt any display or sensor or LEDs or whatever you want onto the outside.
All right, and the star of the show tonight, besides you, Lady Ada, and our entire team, the community, our customers, and everyone's helping us with this big move to our factory upgrade is...
Dun, dun, dun. It's a new cutie pie. I personally think this is I love all the products that we've released for the last couple of weeks. But this one's fun. So this is a cutie pie based on the CH32 V203 G6. I think if you look on the back, it's the CH32 V203 G6. This is a RISC-V processor from WCH. It's a very, very low cost chip. It has 10K of RAM, 32K of internal flash. It has an additional 224K of flash memory that's like it's not 0 weight. It's like you have to access it externally. It's like QSPI memory, but it's bonded into the chip. It's just like a kind of funky chip. We added Teeny USB support for it, thanks to some contributors and TAC merged it in. We've also worked on making the Arduino support better. It's still like a hacky chip. It's not, for beginners because it's, doesn't have auto reset built in, and some peripherals are kind of funky and don't work. But it's a pretty nicely featured microcontroller board. I think there's kind of this future of ultra low cost RISC-V chips that are going to hit the market. And I thought, people have been experimenting with this board using CNLore's CHV2 Fun, like V00 Fun repo, and that's great for if you want to use make files. It's never going to run CircuitPython, doesn't have enough memory for it, but I can see people end up like they might port Lua to this or something. And like I said, Arduino works kind of ish okay. There's like one bug with the USB enumeration on Windows, but NeoPixel works. We've got that merged in. I2C does work. SPI does work. Analog input works. It's just kind of funky to see a chip that's basically 40 or 50 cents, right? It's like, half the price of a Cortex M0, but it's like, a full peripheral friendly RISC-V chip. And I don't know, I thought we need to have a little dev board for people to experiment with it, especially with the plug and play STEM QT and the bootloader select button and a reset button. So plus the NeoPixel. And you can use it as a very low cost dev board for this chip, which I think we'll see in a lot of projects.
Let's do products.
New.
Alrighty, don't forget the code is we move, celebrating our move to Industry City. Save a buck or two and help us pay the movie bill. Let's do some top secret. We're gonna do questions right afterwards. Post your questions up at adafruit.it/discord. Here is top secret for the week. from the vault. We'll play video, and then we'll see you on the other side for a new product Lady Ada just released. Soon. All right, Lady Ada, as we get ready to restart Desk of Lady Ada because of our big move for both Adafruit to Brooklyn and you and I moving to Brooklyn to be close to Adafruit, we have a mini Desk of Lady Ada that we're releasing tonight, Sunday, from your desk that we're setting up right now. We're living in boxes.
Same desk, but now
our baby's asleep,
Long Island,
so Lamore is doing electronics.
Okay.
What is this?
Okay, so this prototype has been like ported from Manhattan to Brooklyn. It's the DS2482-800. Now we already have in the store the DS2484, which is an I2C to one wire converter, which is really great because like some chips don't have one wire, or like because it's a little timing sensitive, maybe you don't want to code it up, especially single board Linux computers. And one wire is, you can connect multiple chips in parallel, but maybe you want to like not worry about ROM addressing and you want to have 8 separate wired sensors. The DS2482 is like the 84, except it has 8 ports, 0 to 7 here. And then you can select the channel, and I've got some code here, where it selects every channel in order, and then you see on channel 5, it finds something, and then wait if this is kind of press fit in. But then, channel 0, you also find some sort of channel 5 going by, and then channel 0, it finds a device. So it could be an easy way to have 8 temperature sensors, DS18B20 compatible, without having to worry about like, oh, which address is in which location, because you just have one connected to each port. Now you have 8 easily identifiable temperature sensors. So this prototype is working, and we're going to get into the shop soon.
All right, and stay tuned for all sorts of fun new videos from our new locations at Adafruit. Thank you, everybody, and please order some stuff. It's expensive to move.
I know. Thank you, Ray.
All right, we sent this over. I'm going to post it online, but you sent me the image.
Yeah, because I was working on these USB hubs, and the reason it took 3 tries is the original design I made with, this is the microchip USB 2422, which is a 2-port chip hub, but it has I2C. It's under your heads. It has I2C configuration. So this is like a little bit different because it's like if you want to like set like the PID and what the name comes up as. You could do that over I2C. So I don't know. I thought I did a quick respin and updated this for components that we could get, and I'll reorder this. So maybe we'll have another USB hub. We'll see how many hubs people want us to stock.
All right, it's top secret.
All right, let's.
Yeah, we're gonna answer your questions.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, we speed rounded this, as they say in the biz. Alrighty, let me look at what questions are there. I had one lined up already. When will the Memento be available for distributors in Europe?
Well, I know DigiKey definitely is a distributor, and they will ship to Europe, so try them. But I'll check to see, and maybe I don't think it's restricted, but I'll make sure it isn't.
Okay. Next up, are the new resin printed cases printed in-house or using one of the printing services at places like JLC or PCB area? We're trying a few.
We're trying a few. These are printed at JLC, but we're also going to do some at PCB Way. We'll try others as well. Our 3D printers are currently packed up. But also if they become popular, we want to make sure that we can like scale up. The goal here is just to have cases at a reasonable price. You can always, of course, 3D print your own. But I don't have a 3D printer up and running right now. I still wanted these cases. And also it's much cheaper and easier than setting up injection molding.
Yeah. There's a question about some open source hardware in one of the other non-Discord places.
Yeah.
But I will go there. I'll go to the web browser. We have our open source hardware listing. If you wanted to list all of them, you could do it if you go to oshawa.org and then click certification and then type in Adafruit. We are up to 777. And then another question is, where can you learn more about Adafruit at Industry City? Well, we're going to do our shows and stuff like that. And I guess stay tuned for all of the things that we do every single week. Let's see here. I think we show up in the directory this way now. We might. We're in the news section for sure.
Yeah.
So you can try this out here. You can see here.
It's like TechCrunch photos.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's me when I was much younger.
Oh, yeah. And then I think we also show up in one of these other listings. Let's see. Oh no, because they're shops. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not a
Well, because we're not a storefront.
yeah, but we're in the directory for
Okay.
other stuff. So you can check that out, industrycity.com. Okay, let's go back to the questions. Any update on AdaBox? Yeah, so the whole goal was for us to move. So we did an AdaBox this year so far because there was a chip shortage, and we promised it would be up before the end of last year.
There will be another
We
AdaBox.
finished the latest one in the beginning of the year, and now we're working on the next one. We just have to unpack our boxes for the AdaBoxes. I have a project coming up that uses Adafruit parallel pump. Can the RP2040 prop maker 5V be used for NeoPixels to be able to drive the pump, or should I go with a motor featherwing?
You can, but it's only going to have you'll only have on and off control. And you definitely still want to have a flyback diode because it's not designed for inductive loads.
Alrighty. And if that's it, we're exhausted.
Okay.
We're going to put a baby
We're
bed.
going to go put a baby to bed.
So I think that is it. This has been an Adafruit production. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And once again, the code is we moved. We really moved.
We really moved.
And total different multiverse. And I want to thank everyone in Boston for the warm welcome and our Boston. I gotta go to bed. It's very Boston like that. That's what I was thinking. Brooklyn like. Well, it also sounds like
Brooklyn.
So we'll see everybody
Same
next
thing.
week.
It's like you're along a brook, right?
Yeah.
Brookline.
Oh, did you find anything interesting during the move? Yeah. So one of the things we're doing is we're having a retro computing museum inside of Adafruit. That'll be neat. More on that later. Lots of interesting things through the archives of Adafruit. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Here's your moment of Zener.